liquidity inducement theorem. Pretty much that's what we will do, and later on, and of course, we will look like that, right? Strong as shit. So we will look into now the 4 main steps, and that's universal facts, okay? That will always be the same no matter what market, no matter whatever. We have 4 main steps, bigger steps. Again, that's why it's main steps, okay? And we of course start with number 0. And number 0 will be, first we will always identify the liquidity. That's the first thing we will always do before we even consider doing anything. We need to see what are they doing, where do they build up liquidity, where's the next liquidity zone, where's market most likely to go for, because again, we need to understand what is going on. We will not predict, we just see and line out these zones before, of course, market goes there, so we're not surprised anymore. So that's why we identify the liquidity first. Then we have something we call an intraday cycle, and then we need to understand like where we are in this intraday cycle. But of course, we teach you exactly what this internal cycle is in a bit. But then the next spot would be looking for an inducement. Again, if we identify the liquidity, then we understand where we are in the cycle. Then we can expect, of course, an inducement, and only then we're looking for a trade opportunity. And then the whole thing repeats. It's rinse and repeat. It's literally very easy steps, and you will always need to do it in that order. And if you do that in that order, you will have a very good time in the markets, okay? Because you have to understand one very important thing about these markets. The markets, of course, they can be very rapid. They can be very speed-wise. They're creating all these crazy pushes whatsoever. So, and now if I give you like a little analogy about how to build a little bit more sense into that. John Danaher, which is one of my favorite guys of all time and one of the best Jiu-Jitsu coaches or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coaches in the world, for example, trained like best Jiu-Jitsu players in the world like Gordon Ryan and stuff like that. He gave an amazing analogy about fighting in general. And he asked, so let's say you're one of the best fighters in the world, and you get asked like, okay, so I heard whatever, you're like one of the best coaches in the world about fighting in general. Like, what is the basic approach of fighting? What's the safest way of fighting? Because again, if you get in this unfortunate situation, you need to fight. Of course, you will not swing random punches with the dude and get hurt yourself and maybe get knocked out. No, there needs to be a good approach to actually do that in that worst situation. Again, trading is literally the same exact thing, because again, you need to kind of fight the markets. You don't want to exchange like random haymakers with the market. No, you need to fight safe if you want to fight. So now if you think about the market or a guy, pretty much, like what is a human person capable of doing? And now we take the analogy of a spear thrower. So if you look at this guy, how he throws a spear, okay? So look at this. His whole body completely, pretty much full force, he extends his whole body to throw the spear in full force as much as he can. So he's pretty much extending his whole body, complete kinetic energy, completely just throwing it out there. Okay, awesome. So what does that mean though? So what happens if you take this guy now and just put him on his knees and let him throw the spear? So how much or how far do you think he can throw the spear out of a sudden? Probably not like whatever 80 meters anymore, maybe only whatever 30 meters in the best case, if that's a very good throw then. But what happens if we actually take this guy and put him on his back and then he needs to throw the spear? He probably cannot even throw it 5 meters anymore. So that's how you have to approach the markets very similarly. So if you again take the analogy of fighting, what's the safest way of fighting? Because again, you want to make sure that the guy cannot completely extend his body and whatever sprint at you and whatever gives you a haymaker from the side. The safest way of fighting is, of course, getting the fight to the ground to take this rapid movement away from him. Of course, you can avoid the punch, but then again, this guy is still standing and can run at you again and swing the punch. Same thing with the market. So how can you take the market to the ground? Because again, if it's on the ground, the kinetic energy, the rapid completely extension is gone. Okay, it's more safer on the ground and it's way more unlikely getting knocked out whatsoever. Or a different point is you're getting in line with the punch. Again, if that is JP, right, and he wants to punch me, what I can do instead, I can whiff the punch and then obviously throw him over. Which maybe not, because he will throw me over, but anyways, you get the point. You can either avoid the punch, get him on the ground, or go in line with the punch. But guess what? Going in line with the punch is harder. Okay, so if we go back into the cycles, so what are we going to here? Identifying liquidity. That's really identifying what's going on, identifying your empowerment, whatever, identifying what's actually going on, what's happened to go next. Then when you're on the cycle, and then again, you expect the inducement, which is the punch. So if you're getting more experienced, you can add a different step in here and you roll in line with the punch. Does that make sense? So again, if you have Asia range in here, builds up the buy trend in here, never breaks out, builds like a false break of here. So what do you expect already? Now London Open is here. What do you expect already? You expect the inducement high and you can roll with the inducement, but then get the hell out of there. And then of course you expect this. So you can do either two things. You wait for the inducement to happen, or you trade in line with the inducement before it happens. You roll with the punch. But that's the advanced approach. So the safer approach is to wait until the inducement is done, and then you find your trade opportunity. Again, when does it happen? You have this or whatever structure point here, inducement, let's call this inducement, internal break of structure, getting the market on his back, internal break of structure, finding the mitigation zone after the inducement. There you go, mitigation, and then go. That's the safer, way safer approach. That's taking the market on the ground and getting the force away of being whatever. The inducement can be like this. And you're chasing the market and getting punched. No, you wait until the market is on its ground, show its intentions, and then you line with it. Okay? Or, of course, you can take this buy if you expect the inducement, but then you need to get out of there. Okay? Sounds good? Slip like Canelo. There you go. That slip was actually crazy. That one was really good. So, and then again, this is the overall main steps we gave you, but in overall you have to understand that note, you can add or remove steps. That's just the basic guidance we give you, but of course, all these steps are identification areas and processes. And each one of those will of course be discussed in way more detail, but for now I just want to understand this overall fact. So again, the moment you're getting more experience, you can trade in the inducement, taking the momentum and speed. Of course, that always leads to very quick and awesome trades. But again, it's dangerous because again, you're literally rolling in line with the punch. And again, it's better if you wait for the miss of the punch, wait it out, and then he falls over because he loses balance. And then you wait for the break of structure and enter after that. So for this week, again, we will show you some even more intense stuff. But for this week, before we continue, I want you to be like this. This lioness in here, again, look at it. It sees so many preys, whatever you want to call these things. My English is completely whatever, buffalo. I don't even know what it is, right, in English. But again, you see, it easily could rip a few of those like things apart. But guess what? It's just being patient for whatever reason. And for this week, you should be like this. Just observing and seeing what is going on. You should not jump in the markets right away. You should not fight right away. Practice the basics, what we give you even today. Put everything together and make sure you're prepared to fight. You should not fight before you're not prepared. Again, there's a saying, the more you sweat in training, the less you will blood in a fight. Okay, so better make sure you sweat in training a lot to avoid whatever ninja in a fight. And again, don't be like this kid and jump right away and don't know what is going on and try to utilize everything, whatever, and jump in the market and confuse yourself and whatever, include like an indicator in that and No, just be patient like a lion. Take a lion, again, what does he do before he sees like a herd of buffaloes? What is he doing? Goes the lion here and just jumps straight into this herd and just attacks one random one? Of course not. what is he doing? He just lies there and observes. Observes the herd and sees and observes and finds weaknesses. He sees maybe he looks at the smallest one, maybe the oldest one, the weakest one, whatever. Maybe this guy is limping in here, whatever. He finds obviously weaknesses in the whole herd, and that's how you find weaknesses in the market in terms of liquidity areas. And then you just wait for the right moment. Again, if this buffalo herd, whatever, goes to water place, and then this old one in here, which has a limping foot, he wants to drink, and all of a sudden, oh, he slips. Again, that's the moment. Then you jump in. But you wait for the right moment. You don't jump in right away. First you observe, then you wait, and the moment an opportunity shows, then you jump in. Make sense? Awesome. Again, 4 main lit steps.